Hi everyone, my name is Lee Beattie, and I want to welcome you all to something. Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Lee Beattie. It just went live. I don't know if it actually did or not, but I want to welcome you today to something that's very different than what I always share with you all. A lot of people, I actually just got kind of bombarded in my Facebook uh, inbox with, "Hey Lee, why are you always sharing all this marketing stuff? Why are you always sharing, all this stuff? It doesn't matter to me. I have a job. I'm not trying to." Really, uh, you know, stand on my own 2 feet, market on my own, and really go forward. And I'm going to tell you why. That's actually why I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm going to give you some examples and do my best to talk about what it's like to really fall down, fail forward, overcome obstacles, and pay it forward. So, for without further ado, my name is Lee Beattie. I've been marketing online for over 7 years. Is that really who I am? Uh, that's one of the aspects of who I am as a person. I'm gonna take you back a few more years before that. I grew up in an interracial household, meaning obviously my mom is white, my dad's black, and I grew up in the late '70s, early '80s. Graduated high school in '94, so on and so forth. And some of the lessons I learned about that time were pretty difficult. Okay, I experienced racism, hatred, bullying from a very, very early age. And the reason why I feel it's important for you to understand why I do all this, you should understand where I started. Okay, I even wrote a book about it. It's called Is He Black or White? Okay, you can Google it right now. You'll see on the top result. It's an Amazon book. You can go pick it up right now. Um, but along the way, I learned, I was brought up in a household where I didn't understand what color was. I didn't even know what color was. I didn't know what hatred was. I didn't know what bullying was. I grew up in a family. Both my parents were in the United States Army. I was a military brat, and a lot of people who are in that environment, you understand that that it's a hodgepodge of cultures. It's a hodgepodge of different nationalities. Where everybody comes from, but there's one common goal, which is to serve your country. And that's how I was raised. I was raised with both my parents were NCOs, non-commissioned officers for those of you. And what the odd part about it was, there was a lot of things that I experienced early on that I just didn't understand. Okay, so both my brother and sister are mixed, and mulatto, that's the term for it. And I was the white guy. I was the one that you go out in public, you got this little white kid, you got mixed brother and sister, you got dad is black, mom's white, and in the late '70s, early '80s, that was something that wasn't as commonplace as it is now. And I bring this up because this is really has to do with overcoming these obstacles. My parents never allowed me to ever not have courage to do the things that I want to do. They always taught me that what, you put your mind to it, you do it. Don't have any limitations. Don't let hatred, don't let bullying, don't let any of those things really deter you from your goal. I bring that up because, folks, that's a huge obstacle to overcome when you're a kid. Okay, not being accepted by your peers. I was one of those kids that everybody had something to say. It didn't matter if they were black, white, Asian, Hispanic, German, French, whatever. I was one of those people that had a lot of discrimination towards me, and my upbringing. That's what everybody knows now is bullying and hatred. So I understand 100% when everybody goes through. Okay, but there's kind of a story that goes along with that. My parents both got out of the military. We moved to Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, and even though being a military brat, I experienced a lot of cruel things, a lot of name calling, finger pointing, things like that. When I got out of the military, well, they got out of the military. We moved to Cleveland, Ohio. More importantly, it was 124th of miles. For those of you guys know, that's it's not the easiest going part of Cleveland. It's pretty tough part. In Cleveland, and I was there at 91, 92 time frame. So things were, I don't know what it looks like now, what it feels like now. But when I got out, when my parents got out, I was introduced to hard, like what I perceived was hard times. I saw a lot of things that that I didn't previously understand. Now, even though I was, the fingers were pointed at me and, hey, you're different, and hey, your family's different, things like that. I was introduced to real violence. I was introduced to things that my parents couldn't shelter me from. Everything that we went through up to that point. I was 15. My parents did a great job, a phenomenal job, uh, of raising me, and we got out there, and I learned really, really quickly that, those streets can be very, very difficult. They can be really scary. They can be, and this is something that, a lot of people growing up in that environment, they have to deal with from day one. I wasn't. I was introduced to that. And, I bring this to your attention because, being a white guy at 124th of miles, even though, my family, I didn't, folks, I was never brought up with this whole black-white thing. I'm bringing this to your attention because it was never even brought up. It was never even an issue growing up for me, but it was to everybody else. And, from 15 on to when I graduated, I didn't even know my name was Lee. It was, hey, white boy. It was, hey, white boy. It was white boy this, white boy that, or, it was always, the derogatory white boy slang term, whatever. And, I was taken out of, folks where we were living in Lawton, Oklahoma, introduced to, the mean streets of Cleveland, and I didn't hang out a lot. The couple times I did it, I was introduced to some things that, they're still burned into my mind, that I think, I was kind of, I was not necessarily living the life I should have been living up to that point, but what happened as a result, Cleveland changed me. Okay, I got out there and I was discriminated against. When guys would see a white guy walking down the street, that's not common. That's not commonplace around that neck of the woods. Okay, and luckily for me, when we got there, my aunt helped me get a job. I worked at Slim's Car Wash over there. I was off of Harvard and Lee, I believe. I went over there. I worked and washed cars, a car wash, and again, Slim treated me very. He's a very fair man, and he helped. He really put me in a position to utilize some of that youthfulness, if you will. Well, what's odd about that is, after that, I went to school. Even though I lived off 124th of miles, staying at my granddaddy's house, I was bused all the way to the west side over there at John Marshall High. Went over there, to me, it was different. It was a different lifestyle. It was different, to get bused 35, 40 minutes a day to go to school on the other side of Cleveland when I could have just went to John F. Kennedy up on Harvard. Okay, but they didn't. It was some kind of ordinance or whichever the case. Well, my parents, after they, kind of got acclimated, we moved to Warrensville Heights. And I'm going to tell you something that's kind of weird about that. Warrensville Heights, going there, even though the 124th of miles and some of the experiences that I lived through there were tough. But when I went to Warrensville, I'll never forget this. My guidance counselor, when we first showed up, my mom took me over there to get enrolled in school. And I met my coach, Coach Walker, actually. He always called me Tom. I love Coach Walker with all my heart. I mean, he's a great influence to me, and he's a great man. And I think he's retired since then. I'm actually friends with him. I just requested him on Facebook, and I have a lot of respect for that man. He treated me, like I'm anybody else. It didn't matter what my skin color. When I went to Warrensville Heights, I was one of the only white kids in that high school. Okay, and again, this racism thing. I grew up in a mixed household, and understood all these challenges, if you will. And I went to Warrensville, and again, I didn't know my name. There's actually a handful of people that I went to school with there. Mainly everybody I played football with and baseball with. They all knew my name. Everybody else, I was white boy. Okay, I'm not everybody, but that's all you hear when you're a teenager. That's all you hear is that, all that stuff. Well, I was immediately introduced to what it was like to be different, and I had, this really goes with what I was just asked. Well, hey Lee, why are you always telling us about this marketing stuff? Why are you always telling us stuff? Because I want to help you, really. And that's what this video is about. And I had a debate with this gentleman. He's a black man, African American man. He said I didn't understand what it was like to be in the situation reverse, and that's actually why I'm doing this. This is something for video proof so that you can see. You can actually go pick up my book. I'm not the most well-versed author in the world, but it's something that's it's a little bit of it's my story. It's kind of what I'm telling you now a little bit. And folks, I experienced, well, I guess when I moved to Warrensville, I moved to Walford, and they call it the Wall. There's everybody knew, in Warrensville, where do you live? I live off Walford. I live off the Wall. I mean, that's how. Oh, he lives off the Wall. In Warrensville, that's kind of a big thing. That's a big to do. I didn't know that. It didn't matter. I mean, everybody there where I lived, most of the guys I lived around and gals I lived around, they all, some people, as with anything, you're going to be, hey, white boy this, or hey, white boy that. And I didn't know my name, but everybody I played football with, obviously my name was Lee. And we had a common goal, which is, a band of brothers, let's work hard and let's play some ball and let's do the best we can to get a winning record, things like that. Really, everybody that I play ball with, you all know who you are, and you can acknowledge that. But during that time, I developed this kind of chip on my shoulder. This chip on my shoulder that I kind of hardened up a little bit. But at the same time, being in this environment, I felt special. Everybody made me feel special. Not just because I was white, it was just because I finally started to realize that, hey, I'm different. I'm different than everybody else. I'm different than a lot of you. But a lot of what I went through at that point, really everybody in that school really rallied around me and became really what I consider to be the reason why I kind of took that corner. Because growing up, going from being a military brat to, being introduced to, Cleveland and being introduced to Warrensville and being the only white kid in that environment, there's a lot. I had to learn how to fail forward. And I'm going to use that term a couple times as we go on. So I'm painting that picture for you. This is very different than most people. Okay. And, and this is why I bring that up is because I was told that I don't understand what it's like to have those challenges. And that's not true. I do. I absolutely know what those challenges are. I absolutely do know what it's like to overcome those obstacles. I do understand what it's like to go through bullying and hatred all my life, okay, up to that point. Well, and eventually, my junior year, I moved on, went to Great Falls. I had some kind of setbacks, as you know, with being a teenager, kind of dealing with all those stresses. I had kind of a mini meltdown. I had some things happen, and I went to Great Falls, Montana, to stay with my grandmother for the last part of the year. And what happened as a result, I went from being one of the only white kids, being the minority, if you will, to going to Great Falls, Montana, and CMR, Charles M. Russell High School, where I was reintroduced to military brats, reintroduced to, good people. There were good people in Cleveland too. I'm not trying to say that, but reintroduced to, really the opposite end of the spectrum. And at that point, that chip I had on my shoulder was there. Okay, I was kind of hardened up with moving to Cleveland and being in that position, and I brought that with me and didn't even realize it. I brought that kind of, that you kind of have that tough exterior. What happened is, I made friends there, but I just didn't feel like this was my place. Oddly enough, I was born in Great Falls, Montana, so ended up moving back to Cleveland, finished out my senior year, and I graduated. Okay, long story short. Okay, so you kind of get the story that grew up in an interracial household, moved. My parents got out of the military, went to Cleveland, and that's not an easy part of Cleveland. That's a pretty tough part of Cleveland to live, no matter who you are. And then went to Warrensville, where I was I was one of the only white kids there, and it taught me some really valuable lessons. And that was that, hey, no matter who you are, what school you go to, whatever the majority, the minority is, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have people that are going to hate on you. You're going to bully you no matter what. But during that time, there were my coaches rallied around me, my teachers rallied around me. Now, they did an exceptional job of making me feel like I was superhuman. And it taught me that, hey, it's okay. You can overcome this bullying, this hatred, these obstacles. Don't even let it phase you. So for me, I was lucky enough. I was a two-sport athlete. I did pretty good in school. I was National Honor Society guy. Got that when I was in my senior year. And I decided rather than go to school, I was going to go to the United States Air Force. And let me show you. I'm wearing my Air Force shirt today. So I went to the Air Force, and I still had that chip on my shoulder, even though, our whole mission in the military is for one. It's all for one for all. It's being in the Air Force and supporting each other. And luckily for me, I've been around a lot of great people in tech school. A lot of the people that I was in tech school with, I mean, a lot of those guys are right now senior NCOs. Actually, my roommate in tech school is a decorated Army officer right now. He actually got out of the Air Force, went to the Army. Had a lot of great people I was in tech school with. It was introduced to what I was familiar with. To me, growing up, the military environment was a great environment for me. I mean, I thought it was good for any child, even though, military personnel don't make an exorbitant amount of money, but they make it's good enough to actually live and be able to survive and be around other like-minded people. So when I was in the Air Force, I did a lot of great things. I met a lot of people. I was what you call a comm nav guy. I was what you call cone head. That's the communications navigation guy, or avionics technician, for those of you that want a more definitive answer for that. And while I was in, I realized everything that I learned at Warrensville and all those lessons that I learned, and those teachers and those people that really rallied around me. I brought that confidence. They built me up, and I learned how to overcome obstacles. I learned that, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter if you're white or black. It doesn't matter if you're having troubles in your time, day to day. Give it your best. Try as hard as you can. And I took that attitude. So I'm going to tie all this together at the end here. I took that attitude into the Air Force with me. And for me, because I played sports, and believe me, I heard it on the field. Everyone, when I was in high school, I heard the other teams. I mean, it was in my face all the time. I got it at school. I got it from other people. Of course, I knew I was the white guy. Everybody knew I was the white guy. I was the only one that played sports there. And we were all just wanting to play ball. And I'm sure that was a lot of pressure for all the other guys. You have to be like, oh man, who's the white guy? Who's this and that? But I never felt it. Everybody, they rallied around me. All my teammates, everybody at my school, they all gave me so much love. It didn't matter that I was a white, even though that was, that was said to me a lot. They still had a lot of love for me. So that confidence that everybody at Warrensville and my family and everybody up to that time, they really helped build me up. I went to the Air Force, and anybody that was in the Air Force with me will tell you, I'm a go-getter. I'm to this day. I mean, that's why I am the way I am. It's because of Warrensville. It's because of being introduced to Cleveland. It's because of my parents. It's because I had a huge community of people who really gave me a lot of love. They really respected me. They really, even though I went through some of those obstacles, and I failed forward, folks. I failed at a lot of things, but you know what? You never know it because I had so much support. And when I was in the Air Force, luckily enough for me, I decided to play ball. I played, on the football team, the baseball team, the basketball team, and luckily enough for me, in 1996, I was McCord's Male Athlete of the Year. And it was funny because everything that I did to that point was what I learned. And I started to learn that, I wasn't good at everything that I did, but I was consistent. I worked hard at it. I worked hard at, consistently grinding. And this is where I'm going to start, really, now that you start to understand a picture of what I grew up with and how I learned to, harden myself, but also believe in myself, but also I had a community around me. Okay, and this is where you need to start understanding that when I was in the Air Force, because I've always wanted more, because of that experience at Warrensville, I really took a corner because living in Oklahoma, I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. My dad was in Desert Storm, and I didn't deal with it very much. I didn't do it. I guess you should say I didn't deal with it in a way that was constructive. I did a lot of dumb things. We got to Cleveland, that I learned really quick. I don't want to be out in the streets. I don't want to be doing that stuff. I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to die. I want to get over that. And then, in the military, I had all of those experiences help me to really excel. Being an athlete of the year was great. In my off time, I coached, I refereed, and I did a lot of things I absolutely loved. And, you know, went to Korea, played on the base team, had met, you know, everybody that I was in the military with, you know, from the guys basic to, I mean, I'm still friends with, you know, a lot of those guys. I call them my brothers. You know, one of the guys that was in my basic training flight, I look at him like he's my brother, like he's my flesh and blood brother. My friend of mine from my brother flight, I look at him like he's my brother. You know, the guys in tech school, they're like my brothers, sisters. You know, we see each other. Hey, we're gonna have a beer. We're gonna, you know, really reminisce, I guess you'd say. Went to Korea, played ball. That was something that I was very, very fortunate. I had enough talent to be able to really be able to play at that level and sustain. Then I got out. Okay, and this is where the story is going to change a little bit, because I joined corporate America after I got out of the military. And, you know, even though I was driven, just like I was in the Air Force, and I really had all that kind of, you know, overcoming, you know, I overcame a lot of adversity. It wasn't easy being that white guy in that environment. It wasn't easy being, you know, that guy that, you know, everybody that dealt with me on a regular basis. I still had that chip on my shoulder, folks. I still had that kind of hard exterior. I still had that, you know, that thought of, you know, that was something I wore as a badge of honor, if you will, you know. And when I got out of the military and I joined corporate America, I was a global field service engineer for the, you know, the largest producer of semiconductor equipment. It's called Applied Materials. I was on their global install team. You know, because of the experiences I had in the United States Air Force, and because of my drive, I was really afforded an opportunity to travel globally. And the beautiful part about a lot of that was I established goals for myself. And this is where this whole concept of, you know, who is Lee Beattie? What are you talking about failing forward? How to overcome obstacles? How to pay it forward? This is where this story is going to really tie together. This is where my message, hopefully, is going to resonate with a lot of you. 2 years into my journey, I was part of a reduction in force. I was let go. I was introduced to what I considered to be failing. It was a failure. I thought I failed myself. I failed my family. I failed my community. I failed everybody because I got let go from a job that really, in all actuality, now it was just I was the low man on the totem pole, and they needed more experience. That's really what it boils down to. And a lot of my peers, you know, kept their jobs, and I failed, folks. I lost my job, and I got depressed. I'm not going to even kid you. I got depressed. But what I noticed as part of that was that I started to really hone in on things that I really like to do. I started playing frisbee golf because, you know, a lot of the things I did in the sports realm, I mean, I had a lot of injuries that, you know, I still deal with today. I'm 38 years old. You know, every day I wake up with a constant reminder of broken bones and, you know, all those things. Well, I was introduced to failure, and I didn't know how to deal with it at first. I didn't know how to deal with a loss of a job, because I got out. My mindset was, I'm going to get out. I'm going to do 20 years. I'm going to retire. That's what everybody thinks. And we all were, in the last 15 years, we all have been introduced to life. You know, a lot of people have lost fortunes, you know, with their savings, you know, with investing in the stock market and things like that. I was no different. And I was introduced to things, but I didn't deal with it initially like I should. And obviously during that time, I got married and started taking a lot of actions, and had a very, very upbeat person in my life. But I was unsatisfied. I was dwelling on some of those things. And this is where all of you up to this point, you never heard me talk about dwelling and you know, really systematically not understanding how to move forward. Well, I was depressed, and I failed. And I failed myself. I failed my family. I failed, you know, everything that I stood for. That's what I thought, at least. And eventually, because of that, not being able to overcome that, I made some really bad decisions. And, you know, I got divorced, and, you know, really kind of went through this spell for a few years that wasn't productive. It wasn't what I would consider to be positive or upbeat. And then through all that time, I was introduced to internet marketing. Okay, folks, I'm telling you openly right now, I failed at life. I failed at overcoming and just dusting myself off. And this happened over several years. I just didn't handle it very well. I had all the support in the world, but this is one of those things that it personally affected me. It personally impacted my wallet. It personally impacted my life. And even though I dealt with a lot of those adversities growing up, I'd never dealt with anything like this. And when I was introduced to internet marketing, I got back on the road. I was traveling a lot, doing the global field service engineering thing. Luckily, I had that kind of experience, and I made good money. I traveled all around the world, and I was working my tail off. I was working here. I was one of those folks that you call a nomad. I lived out of a suitcase, lived out of a hotel, rental car, all that stuff. It's a great lifestyle, but when you work all the time, your quality of life, at least my quality of life, took a toll. I didn't have any fun. I was working from sun up till sundown, and there's a lot of people in that industry that they experience that. To be honest with you, they work all the time. It's just because it's the demand, because of the products, the fulfillment, the end customer use. A lot of you watching me right now on a smartphone, a laptop, a tablet, a desktop, whichever the case, you guys are all witnessing parts of those products. This is where I began to think outside the box. It was the first time that I finally started to realize, I got to get over all these failures. I fell down. Even though I was working, I still couldn't get over that failure, folks. I still couldn't get over the fact that I lost a job, that I failed at a marriage, and I made a lot of bad decisions. At that point, I was introduced to internet marketing, and it's what, in my opinion, has saved my life. Okay, obviously, I have a belief in God. I pray every day. I believe not only in myself, but I believe that God is allowed me to go through these specific things in life so that I can really tap into my true potential. And what you're seeing is something that I'm starting to realize is I like to teach. I like to educate. I love to really share parts of my story. This is something that's very different than what I normally do. Many people who watch my videos and watch these, I'm teaching you about internet marketing stuff. And that's where all this story, this is where I learned how to fail forward, how to overcome obstacles, and how to pay it forward. And because of internet marketing, I can give you this story. Folks, I failed up to that point. I failed. There was probably a 4-year span there where I wasn't myself. I was out of sorts, and I made all the wrong decisions. It was nothing my family can do. It was nothing that, it's just something in life that when you fall down and you fail, you got to learn how to fail forward. I didn't know how to fail forward. When I lost my job, I took it so hard, and I took it and I got depressed. Then I had a couple other opportunities to let me travel and utilize that skill that I have, and my expertise. And I realized that, that's just a job. It doesn't define who you are. So when I was introduced to internet marketing, I was introduced to internet marketing in all the wrong circumstances. I was swindled. I finally took action and, saying, hey, look, I want more for myself. Just up to this point in my life, think about what I've shared with you. I've overcome all this hatred, this bullying, this racism, but I was surrounded by phenomenal people that that built me up, that made me believe I was better. I was one of the best people walking on this planet. That's how I always was led to believe, by my family, by my community at Warrensville Heights. They loved me. It made me believe that. I went to the Air Force, and I had friends, and I had folks that I served with that they built me up. I got out of the military and I fell down. I had some great experiences. I used the law of attraction to get that job, but I failed. I failed myself because I didn't know how to fail forward. I never looked at it as, hey, a job is just like if you strike out on the baseball field, or hey, you miss a tackle, you pick yourself back up. I didn't get that because I took it so personal. Right? I didn't know how to overcome that obstacle. And this is where you all need to start understanding. This is where you should take out your notepads. And I'm going to tell you what actually got me through that, because I not only used internet marketing to help me get through it, to help me to take my mind off of things, but I learned some really valuable skills at this time. And I'm going to pick up a piece of paper and I'm going to demonstrate for you. Okay, this is something. What I did was, in order to get over those failures and overcome my obstacles, one day I read a book by Jack Canfield. It was called The Law of Attraction. I read the book The Secret. I watched the video, and I actually have those. I listen to it on a regular basis. I believe in the law of attraction. But what helped me one day was I took this step of overcoming my obstacles by, I wrote on one side of the piece of paper what I didn't want. And I'm going to summarize this so I know your time is valuable. I sat down, read the book, and I took action on what I read. I wrote all the things I didn't want. And believe me, I have right now I don't have the journal to show you. I took up about 15 pages of things I didn't want. That's how many things that I could tell you about at the time, what I didn't want. And that's what most people, when you're having difficult times, or even if you're having good times, if you really take a step back and you listen to what people talk about, as a general rule of thumb, people tell you what they don't want. And for me at the time, I was telling everybody I didn't like all these failures I was having. I didn't like all this dwelling. Even though I was having these experiences, I was moving forward. I was taking action in my life to sustain. I couldn't get over that failure at the time. Until I took the action of holding a piece of paper in half, setting a timer, and saying, you know what? On one column, I'm going to write what I didn't want. In the other column, I'm going to write what I did want. To summarize it, I used that exercise to fail forward. I negated the negative, and I affirmed the positive. And then I constantly reaffirm the positive. I constantly reaffirm the positive, constantly reaffirm the positive. Folks, when you fall down, you fail. You might see that as a fail, but fail forward. What was the learning lesson from that? If there was an obstacle in your way, how did you overcome that obstacle? When you use that technique of folding that piece of paper in half, writing in one column, hey, what you don't want, in the other column, what you do want. When you sit down, you take that physical action of writing all the things you don't want. I had to do this myself. I've done it many times, and this is what I recommend that you do. You write down all the things that you don't want. You put 15 minutes on that clock. You write down all the things that you don't want. You know why you're going to do that? Because that's the only negative. That's the only negative that you're going to do from this point. Because after that, you're going to negate that negative by crossing it out of your life. You're going to take what you wrote on the you don't want side. You're going to cross it out. You're going to negate that negative. Then you're going to write it immediately what you do want. You're going to affirm the positive. And then when you have all these positives, you're going to read those positives 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, or more, depending on how bad your circumstances are. Folks, those failures that I had up to that point in my life, I didn't necessarily focus on productive things to get me moving forward. And this is why I say this to you. This is why I direct you into this path. Folks, this is something that you can physically control right now to literally affirm and take action and change your life. I call this, when you have failures, you're failing forward. Because you know what? You can actually look at that experience. You can look at that obstacle. You can look at that situation, and you can literally fail forward. You can actually literally take that step to move in a positive direction and learn from your experiences. Okay? And how do you pay it forward? I'm paying it forward by sharing this with you. Okay? There's some other things that I'm going to share along the way, but as I've explained to you through this whole path, you know, I understand what it's like to get bullied, the racism, the back and forth. Folks, I wrote a book about it because I just had to get it off my chest. Because I've been told a lot of times, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what all this stuff's like. You just don't know. You don't understand it. Yeah, I do. I do, just like a lot of people do. And during that time of, you know, uncertainty and inconsistencies in my life, I used that specific task to negate the negative and affirm the positive. And then all I did from that point forward was affirm the positive, affirm the positive, affirm the positive. And you know what happened? I started to have successes. I started to learn how to fail forward. I started to learn how to overcome those obstacles just from doing something so simplistic. Because I took that initial action of saying, hey, I don't want this. And I wrote it down. And then as soon as I cross that out, think about it psychologically here just for a second. When you cross something out of your life, what are you doing? You're negating it. You're saying, I don't want that anymore. As soon as you cross it out, in your mind, in your psyche, in every action you just took, you just said, I don't accept that anymore. I just negated it. I just crossed it out of my life. And then when you affirm, even though I don't have the example here, when you affirm what you want and you do it regularly, you're saying, I want to get better parking spots. I want to have more positive experiences. I want to make more money. Whatever it is that you want. Only you can define that, not me, not somebody else. Only you can define that. You'll learn very quickly that your whole outlook on life will be positive. You'll start having more of a positive outlook. You'll learn how to take these challenges, these obstacles, these failures. You'll be able to fail forward. You'll be able to overcome those obstacles. I'm going to give you another technique of something I do right now, this very moment. So after I learned this method, and I took that action, and I do it every day, folks. I'm just the same as any of you. Even though I use internet marketing as my platform to share with people and do videos and things like that, and use them for the various things that I do, everybody doesn't have a interest in that. I'm learning that. I'm learning that as we speak. It's something I have an interest in because I know the upside potential of internet marketing. Not everybody cares, and everybody wants to. Most people want to work for a living because it's security. That's their thing. So the next thing I did after I overcame and I affirmed the positive, I put together a dream board. Oddly enough, I literally went and bought magazines, and I did the physical action of cutting out the picture, putting it on my dream board, and really describing in full what I wanted. And then you know what? One day I modified that. I started to pull images from the internet. It doesn't matter if they're your images or somebody else's. It's your dream board. It doesn't matter. It's your life. It's your dream lifestyle. And then what I did as a result, after that, I put a price tag on every single one of those. The house, the car, the truck, the boat, vacations. These are some of the things I do. Okay. And folks, I'm telling you all this because the book is in edit right now. And I'm going to be, even though it's about business building principles, I spent a whole chapter on just what I'm talking about right now. A whole chapter, because I believe it's important to overcome, to fail forward, to overcome your obstacles. After I put this dream board together, I put associated prices with it, and then I broke it down to monthly or yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly costs. I did that. Just because I need to know that my dream lifestyle is not so exorbitant. It's not such a big thing. It's not such a, it doesn't cost as much as I think it does. And you know what? When you take that action, you'll start to see that your dream lifestyle and those failures that you may be having in your life, or those obstacles that you may be having, or they were in the past, you're going to start to see that when you affirm all these positives, all these things that you're saying, hey, I want this to happen, I like this, and I'm so thankful for this, and I'm so happy for this. And then when you put your dream lifestyle in, you're saying, I see myself having this, I am this, and I am that, and and you're reaffirming it. What's going to start to happen is the universe. Remember the law of attraction. The focus and the energy that you put towards getting the thing that you want, whether it be positive outcomes, whether it be money, whether it be better relationship, whether it be whatever. All those obstacles and all those failures you had before no longer are significant because you're moving forward. You failed forward. You've already gotten over it. You overcame those obstacles, and you're affirming regularly exactly what you want to happen in your life. I'm a prime example of that. You can be a prime example of that too. Just take the action. So the physical step, I'm going to talk about the physical step, and then we're going to go to two other techniques that you can do on top of these two techniques. So remember, take a piece of paper. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll take a blank sheet of paper right now. Okay, even though I have writing on the back, on the front side. You fold it in half, lengthwise. See this? Fold it in half, lengthwise. See that? It has a physical line. There's now a line down that piece of paper. You take that and you write on one side, what you don't want, and I encourage that to be on the left side, okay? Because remember, we're going to go work from left to right, okay? Even though you're seeing it opposite. But you write on the left side what you don't want. On the right side, you want what you do want. And then what I encourage you to do is you take a pen out, not a pencil, a pen. I want you to take a pen, and I want you to write down what you don't want. I want you to put 15 minutes on a timer, and for 15 minutes, start with 15 minutes. If you want to do 30 minutes, you want to do 45 minutes, then by all means do that. Sorry about the dog in the background. But when you actually take those actions of writing down what you don't want to happen, you're introducing, you're getting it off your chest. So everything that might be bottled inside of you and saying, oh, I don't want this and I can't stand this and I don't like it, you're actually, that initial action of saying what you don't want, you're getting it off your chest, you're getting it out. You're not bottling it in. Once you write that down, you take the time, whether it be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and break down everything, right? Whether it be your health, your finances, your whatever the situation that you're in right now. Write that down, break it down, write everything you don't like about your life, or things that you don't like about what is going on in your life. And take the time. I'm telling you, folks, this is a very, very, very powerful action. You negate that negative. So after you're finished with that, take a breather. Take a breather. Go outside, go drink water, go take a walk, whatever the case. Go clear your mind. Because you just got all that negative. You took it off your chest, you threw it off, said, I don't want any more of that anymore. You wrote it down on a piece of paper. You said, I don't want that. You come back after you've taken a break. You know what? You're ready. You're just like, you know what? I'm ready to declare what I want. Because you know what's going to happen. This is what happens for me. I'm getting tingles. I don't know if you can tell that. I'm getting tingles. It charges me up because every time you get that off your chest, you're like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to affirm what I want. I'm going to take what I want. You write down and you affirm it. You immediately cross that out and say, you know what? I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. You're going to have this release. You see how that means? It's like, I don't like it. You're going to release it. And then immediately follow up with what you do want. You're going to have this, there's going to be a charge in you. There's going to be a feeling in you that I can't even describe to you in words. At least it's what happened for me. As soon as I started to negate those negatives and cross them out, and then I started affirming the positive. And then after I finished that whole list, I just sat there and I read that list and I said it loud. I said it confidently. I said it and I asserted myself that I want this, I want this, I want this, I like this, and I like this. And I had a certain tone and a certain affirmation that I gave this. So I call this negating the negative and affirming the positive. And then the step with that is read it several times a day. Whether you need to go out to your car at lunch or maybe in the morning, you go out and you'd say it in whatever time that you have some free time to think for yourself. I call it reflective thinking. You spend time on yourself and you start saying, this is what I want. This is what I want. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Who cares what anybody else thinks? This is what you want. Affirm it. That's the first step. Second step, build on that. You're going to start feeling a positive momentum initially. I'm telling you, folks, remember what I told you. I had a few year span there where I failed, and I did not like who I was. I didn't like what I was going through. I used this exact method to start getting exactly what I wanted to happen. I did immediately. It started almost immediately. It started just, things started turning around. I started having positive experience after positive experience after positive experience. I wanted these things more than I wanted those negative things, and I affirmed it regularly. And I encourage you to do that. Second thing, put a vision board together. Some people call them a dream board. And for all of you that are like, oh, I don't have the time to write it down, or they have apps for that. Just type down dream board or vision board. Type it into Google Play or to the iTunes store. And go through, start picking up pictures, start dreaming. What is your dream lifestyle? I want you to imagine this. I want you to close your eyes for a second. I want you to imagine if money was no object right now. Money was no object. If you had all the money in the world, what does your dream lifestyle look like? So this is part two. This is part two to this. Your dream lifestyle, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be as little as a Pinto or as a Lamborghini Murcielago. It doesn't matter. It's your dream. To me, I have certain dreams. I have a certain value. I know what certain values of homes that I want. And what I encourage you to do is write them all down initially. Take a piece of paper, write them down. Write them down. Just say, I want this. I want you to spend 10 minutes, and I want you to write down what your dreams are. Remember, the first time when I told you to negate the negative, give yourself 15 minutes. Put a specific timer. Don't just say, hey, I'm going to do it now, I'm going to do it later. Give yourself 15 minutes, because if you don't spend that 15 minutes doing it, you won't do it. I'm assuring you. If you don't take that 15 minutes and put it on the clock, you're going to have laser targeted focus, and you're going to take action. Okay? That's one of the big keys to that, even though I kind of jump forward and jump back to it. That's a big key. So when you put your dream board together, take 5 minutes. Put it on your timer, put it on your smartphone, put it on the clock on your microwave or on your stove, whatever. For 5 minutes, and I want you to, for 5 minutes, if the universe or if the world was your oyster, money was no option, I want you to write down everything that you want. Everything. Doesn't matter how big it is. It's your dream lifestyle. It's your dream, folks. Don't let anybody tell you your dreams can't come true, because it's not true. I'm living proof of this. Okay? I want you to take time, and then what I want you to do after that, take a breath. Because you know what? After you learn how to affirm, negate the negative, affirm the positive, and mind you, these are building. You're going to build into all these steps. But I'm giving you a lot right now to kind of devour, take in, and learn some unique steps to start really getting what you want in life. Once you put your dream lifestyle down, you go take a break. Then what I want you to do, I want you to put 15 minutes on the clock. 15 minutes on the clock, just like you did before. And I want you to literally go find images for all those things you wrote down. I want you to put an image to what it is that you wrote down. When you do that, folks, your dreams start to take shape a little bit more, because you're starting to actually attach an image that is associated with your dream lifestyle. Okay? Remember, the positive actions of negating the negative, affirming the positive, once you go through that step, you're going to feel a sense of relief. When you start to write down your goals, it doesn't matter, folks, if you want to make an extra $100 a day, or if you want to get better parking spots, or if your dream lifestyle entails, going and sitting on beaches. These two steps right here, I've tested this with all sorts of age groups that I've given these two tasks to. And I challenged a group of kind of negative kids, if you will, negative teenagers. Their age range was 14 to 17. I sat them down and I gave them this task right here. Write down what you want. Go attach some images to it. And then what we did is we break down the cost. That's the next step. Once you associate a cost with that dream lifestyle, you're going to instantly, the thing that you're going to bug out about that, and there's obviously you got to factor in, hey, if the house is worth this much money, you can break it down into, hey, an interest rate of this over 30 years. I mean, you can break it down. There's certain steps to doing that. But when you break down the yearly, the monthly, the weekly, the daily, the hourly costs, you start to see that task, that dream lifestyle, that immediately, what happens as a result is you start to really acknowledge and realize that my dream lifestyle doesn't cost nearly as much as I thought it would cost at all. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's going to amaze you. I'm telling you, these two techniques alone, not only to have a more positive life and to really start really painting a picture for your dream lifestyle, very powerful. I'm going to go over two more steps now. Okay, these are things that, these are what I call icebreakers. These are breaking the mold. This is getting you out of the mold of your daily life and getting you out of the mold of, things suck, or things aren't going my way. You're going to start, your terminology and things that you use and the verbiage that you use is going to change. You're going to start seeing the bright side of things. You're going to start seeing the positive side of things. You're going to start to realize that, you know what? everything is possible. All this stuff is possible. Okay? I'm going to give you my 4-step. I'm going to give you my 4-step process of what I do every morning now. Okay? Because this is something that I developed. It's something I had to go back to when I was 12 years old, when I was a paper boy. And I was that person. When I was 12, I begged my parents to get a paper route. I was that guy. I was a driven guy. Always been a driven guy. And it's something that I developed early on and I use even to this day. So 26 years later, I still use this every single day. So first step in that. So hopefully you got, negating the negative, affirming the positive. Hopefully you realize that, writing down your dream lifestyle, putting images to it, and then giving it a price tag can be very powerful. Those are 2 very powerful things. That's going to help you to get over these obstacles. I'll assure you of that. Okay. The very next thing is my morning ritual. My morning ritual is something that you don't talk about. People don't talk about their morning rituals. People have essentially kind of bad rituals in the morning. That's what I've noticed as a general rule of thumb. I don't. I have a very, very positive ritual. Every morning, I'm going to share these with you, and I'm going to go over these very briefly. Okay? Every morning, the first thing that I changed was my alarm clock. The alarm clock, I stopped having that ferocious that one is just intrusive. It's an intrusive alarm that frightens you. When you wake up, you're frightened. You're in a panic state immediately. I changed that. I actually put it to something that made me laugh. Some people like to wake up to music. Some people like to listen to dolphins or whatever's going to wake you up in something that you enjoy. For me, I always had something that went off. If you guys know Dumb and Dumber, you ever seen that movie Dumb and Dumber? There was a scene where Jim Carrey said to Jeff Bridges, "What's the most annoying sound in the world?" He's like, "Yeah," and he made that really annoying sound. To me, I always thought that was so funny. I would wake up to that. I changed my annoying alarm tone to something that every morning I woke up with a smile. I woke up energized, and I woke up and everything after that I noticed was just like, wow, it's so much easier to tackle the day. So that's my first actionable step. If you've got an alarm clock that's an intrusive alarm, change it. Change it to something that you like. Change it to something that that you enjoy, whether it be rock band or a symphony or something that you get up and it makes you smile. It makes you immediately be happy to wake up. That's the first step. The second step is, and I know this sounds crazy, for me, I always keep my phone close. So I do it off my phone. I turn off the alarm. The very first thing that I do right after that, so this is step number 2, is I smile. I smile as big as I possibly can. Smile. That's right. Smile. I want you to try it right now. Try it for 1 minute. Put a minute on your phone, or put it on your actual your microwave or whatever. I want you to smile. Smile as big as you can. And then while you're smiling, I want you to think about all these things that you're happy about, that you enjoy, that you love. Something that gives you even more motivation to smile as big as you can. Do it for 1 minute. I challenge you. Do it right now. When you do that, you're going to see something that's going to change in you. You did an action of physically smiling, which forces you to mentally smile, which helps to brighten your day. This is what I call self-check. This is an instant self-check that I do. So try it right now. Even if you don't get anything else out of this, try this step. I want you to take a step back. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. And I want you to smile as big as you can. You know what's going to happen about probably the 35 to 40 seconds, your cheeks are probably going to get a little sore. But then you're probably going to start think of all these things that make you happy. You'll probably start laughing while you're smiling. It happens to me every time. That's what happens to me anyways. So that's step number 2, smile. So change your alarm tone to something you like. Step 2, smile. Smile and be happy about, hey, you just woke up. You got a fresh start to the day. I do this every day. Step 3 is I stretch. I stretch my body as I elongate everything. You want to know why? Because all those toxins, when your body is sitting there at night, it's getting all this lactic acid built up in your muscles and your joints, all these things. By stretching as big as you can, stretch as long as you can. Do it for 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Stretch, just stretch. Stretch your body, elongate your body. And think of the lactic acid. I want you to envision this. I want you to close your eyes while you're doing this. After you smile, you're going to be in a good mood immediately. Okay? But while you're stretching, you could stretch and smile too at the same time. I've been asked that question. Lee, can you do both of these tasks at the same time? The answer is yes. While you're smiling and you're stretching, just imagine all this toxic stuff, all these toxins, all these things are releasing. Envision it. This is not something I was ever taught as a kid. It's something that I just thought was cool. I always envisioned all this good stuff always entering my body while I stretched. When I was 12 years old, I thought that. So I didn't have anybody waking me up at 3:45 in the morning while I'm up here rolling papers, before I go deliver them. I didn't have that. I had to get something to get me motivated. And ever since then, when I was looking at success strategies, I realized that was something I've had all my life. And that's what I encourage you to do. So stretch and imagine. And I want you to picture all these toxins leaving. Next step. So that's step number 3, or step 3, 2A, 2B, whatever you want to, however you want to include that. Step 4, I guess 3 or 4, whichever you decide, is drink at least 8 ounces of water. I have a cup here, a plastic cup, but typically if you want to drink it out of a glass, some people don't like plastic. I'm one, it doesn't matter to me. Drink at least 8 ounces of water. Excuse me. Every night I get a glass of water, whether it be a glass or plastic, whatever, and I get it as cold as I can, and then I drink a little bit before I go to bed. It helps me to sleep. But then in the morning I have these bigger cups that I'm not showing you right now. They're at least 32 ounces, and I get up and I chug a glass of water. Every morning I do this. What happens is that water is immediately stimulating your body. It's what it's doing is immediately flushing all those toxins. Okay. The second thing is it's stimulating your body. Okay. The next thing. Okay. I just want you to get into the habit. There's a lot of people, as soon as they get up and they're wiping the sand out of their eyes and I got to drink coffee. I'm not one of those people. I drink water as soon as I get up. I'm one of those people. Okay, and I encourage you to do it. Try it. Just try it for 7 days. Try it for 10 days and see how that's going to affect you. You'll see. You'll see how much of a positive impact that'll have. Then the next thing I do, remind you, this is everything I'm talking about right now. As soon as I wake up, you're literally talking about something that it's taken me all of 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes as soon as I've woken up. Okay. You're not into anything right now. You're not really even started your day yet. You're working on yourself. You're working on your mental outlook. You're working on, positively affecting your day. So the next thing I do, and I'm not always good about this immediately in the morning, but that's something I do every day, is I breathe. I like to do it in the morning because it even charges after I drink, or typically after I drink the water, I got to use the restroom. I got to use the bathroom. I got to release all those toxins, But after that, what I like to do is I like to breathe. And I like to do it for about 5 minutes. Okay? In through your nose, out through your mouth, with your mouth slightly open. So in through your nose for about 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. Hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. And then release out of your mouth, 3 to 5 seconds. Slow and steady. What this is doing, this is going to, and again, I'm writing some things on this as well. This is going to stimulate your body. This is going to get your, you want to breathe in through your diaphragm as well, not through your chest, not through your chest. You want to breathe in through your stomach. It's your diaphragm, moving in and out. Okay, it's by drinking that water and breathing at this point, you're going to start stimulating all those organs inside of you. Okay, so what this does. Okay, all those people that are negative, all these people that are, are not necessarily, that are not having the success that they want, that aren't happy in life. When you do this breathing, what this does is, one, it's going to calm your mind. It's going to do that. Okay. 2, it's going to start stimulating your body. Okay, it's going to stimulate, your all the tissues in your your lungs. It's going to stimulate your organs. And by you drinking that water, you're at 78% of that water that your body is made up anyway. And when you're doing that, you're essentially what you're doing is you're kick-starting your day. You're kicking it into gear after that 5 minutes of breathing. I'll assure you, if you do that right, remember, in through your nose, 3 to 5 seconds, hold it, 3 to 5 seconds, and exhale with your mouth slightly open. Remember to breathe through your stomach, your diaphragm. What's going to happen is you're going to start noticing your body. You'll start getting this tingly feeling. At least that's what I get. Maybe you won't get that, but I do. Every time I do it, I start feeling like, you know, like I've done some kind of ab workout. Every morning this happens. I get some kind of ab workout. And those are I call those my supercharged success principles. Okay, so I'm giving you another way. I gave you 2 already. Negate the negative, affirm the positive. I told you to, I've explained, hey, write your dream board down and, put a price tag to it. And all of these steps, the negating the negative and affirming the positive, do that, affirm the positive at least 3 times a day. Come to your dream board, and I have an actual board that actually I have everything on. And I also have a digital one on my phone. I'm not going to share that all with you, but you can pick it up through your phone. They have apps for that, free apps. And then these supercharged principles, I do this every day. I've been criticized. This is something that's funny, you guys. I've been criticized for waking up and I'm too positive. I'm too upbeat. And all of you know these people that get up like, I hate waking up in the morning. I don't like it. Blah, blah, blah. Mr. Grumpy Pants, Mrs. Grumpy Pants, right? I'm sure you all know a lot of people like that. Me, I'm not like that. Okay? So there you go. That's my success principles. So, and as far as that, I've given you a lot of steps there. So what happens when you start to get this positive momentum, you get your mindset, going in a positive direction? What happens? You learn how to start failing forward. You start learning how to mentally shift your day. You start learning how to literally overcome all these obstacles. They don't mean anything. They're not as dramatic as when everything is bad. And then the last step of this is really, excuse me, I know it's itching. Last but certainly not least is paying it forward. This is something that I truly believe is something that's going to, I call it a reciprocity. This is something that when you do unto others as you want them to do unto you, or you do positive things and you pay it forward, you're going to always get things. You're going to always receive things, because if you're giving and you're putting out a positive thought, you're putting out a positive outlook, and you're putting out, whether, hey, maybe you have an extra $2 in your pocket and you see somebody who has a sign on the road. To me, I'm one of those people, I give them $1, $2, $5. I don't judge that. That's just something to me that I don't do. Or you have a favorite charity, or you have your church, or something that you can do to have a positive impact. Pay it forward. For me, I'm an actual the social media guy for it's actually in the link in the description below. It's facebook.com/2014 pay it forward. I'm doing this one to share a little bit about me, to show you that my journey hasn't been easy. Goodness gracious, my nose. The second thing is I'm here to openly admit that I've had some bad things happen. And the third thing is I'm giving you some action steps that you can use right now to learn how to fail forward, folks. When you think of things of what I've just shared with you, these failures and these obstacles, all these negative things that happen to you, they'll stop happening. They will. They'll stop happening. You watch. You take those actions. You start affirming that. You start affirming what you want to happen. You're going to get more of what you want to happen. Okay? And when the last step of this, when you pay it forward, when you help somebody else, I think Zig Ziglar says this: if you help enough people get exactly what they want, then you'll get exactly what you want. I probably didn't say that quote right, but when you help enough people achieve their goals and their dreams, then you'll start to get your goals and your dreams met as well. This is the last form. This is the last piece of that puzzle. This is the last thing that I truly believe is going to help you to learn how to fail forward, accept these challenges, how to overcome these obstacles. So you're learning about me. You're learning about lead Beattie. You're learning that this is not something that came naturally to me, folks. When I started to have all these things happen, I didn't know how to deal with it. But the thing that I did was I learned how to trick myself. I tricked myself into believing positive things were happening. And then my circumstances started to change. My outcomes started to change. And then what I noticed is when these positive outcomes start to happen, these positive things started happening, you know what I started to realize? You have to pay it forward. And this is what ties in this whole internet marketing thing with me. Folks, I try and give as much information to people as possible so that they don't start off on the wrong foot. With me, I started off on the wrong foot. I spent a lot of money and I got swindled. I didn't, you know, and I made a lot of bad decisions along the way because I just didn't know any better. I don't have a marketing degree. I don't have a communications degree. I didn't have anybody in my family that I can look to for these types of success principles. I follow people like Joel Kahn, Mike Filsaime, Troy James, Don Wilson. I'm sure I'm missing Evan Pagan. You know, all these folks. You know, these are people that to me I look at as mentors. They, you know, I bought products of theirs. I watched their webinars. I listened to the things that they talk about, and they take action. A lot of these people have fallen down. A lot of them have didn't achieve success. Jeff Walker, Jeff Johnson. You know, I can keep going on and on and on. There's so many of them out there that have overcome all these obstacles. And obviously, the big name is Frank Kern. Frank Kern is he's the most sought after marketing guy in the world right now because this stuff works. You know, and that's what I mean. Like these guys, they constantly give positive information. They constantly give you something to learn from. And for me, on my internet marketing journey, that's why I do these. Like today is something completely different with regard to the message that I'm always conveying. If you're wanting to overcome and you want to pay it forward, you got to learn how to think in a positive way. You got to learn how to cross out all the stuff that doesn't matter. You got to learn how to visualize exactly what you want. You got to be able to put a price tag to that. You've got to be able to start off in a positive manner and really be able to kickstart your day. That's just what I do. And then last but certainly not least, you have to pay it forward, folks. I have a story that I'm going to share with you, and then I'm going to let you go. And I appreciate all of you that have, you know, either chimed in during this hangout or you're going to watch this along the way. Back in 2008, and I actually wrote a book about this as well. I'm not the best writer in the world, folks. It's something that I used. I never did it. I wanted to learn how to do it, and I wanted to get my message out there. So I did. And it's out there, you know, for people to buy it on Amazon. 2008, I was experiencing one of the worst times in my life. This is when then I used all these things that I'm talking about. I'm giving you these examples. I was barely making it. I was struggling. I was making just enough to, you know, to get by. I was, you know, just enough to pay the car note, to pay the rent payment, to, you know, eat, everything. I was barely getting by. Once I started implementing these changes, you know, it was weird. I went from, floating from month to month to month to finally being able to pay the bills on time and having a little bit more disposable income. Well, back 2008, for those of you in the Houston area, you guys got pounded by Hurricane Ike. And one of my best friends in the whole wide world that I've ever had, he lived there, and he took off. And after that hurricane hit, they lost power. They was out without power, and he came to my house over. I was living in Austin, Texas at the time. And you spent some time, and you know things were going well, and you know after you got power restored, he took off and back home. Well, for me during that time, I didn't have a whole lot of disposable income. I just didn't. I actually had about $28. I remember this vividly because I wanted to go out and do things and you know, just go out to eat per se, and I didn't want to spend that money because I was finally in a positive. What happened as a result after Hurricane Ike, you know, I was driving to work. I was working over there at Samsung Austin, and I saw this mother with her children walking. And they had a sign that says, every little bit can help. Please help us. And at that moment, I had this kind of feeling that took over me, folks. It just did. I felt that it was my responsibility. I don't know if it was God talking to me or if it was just something that triggered me inside. I mean, I think that is. You see a mother with her children and they're walking. Unfortunately, I was in a lane. I couldn't even stop to go pick them up and ask them, hey, where can I drop you off? Where can I drop you off? Well, I did. The sign had the impact. So I went to work, and at lunch, I went over to the supermarket. It's called HEB, over there off of Palmer, in North Austin. And they had these big donation trucks. Mind you, I only had 28 bucks, folks. I mean, I paid my insurance, my gas, everything. I had literally $28 of disposable income. That's where I was at in my life. Just like I told you, when you think negatively and you fall down, and you dwell on the things that you don't want, you're going to get more of those things. And I was getting a lot more of those things. But then when I started to focus on what I wanted, I'm living proof that I turned it around. Everything just started miraculously happening. Just did. So at lunch there, I had 28 bucks. And I went and I wanted to donate. Most people say, you only got 28 bucks, man. Why would you go donate? To this day, I felt very compelled to do so. And I'll never forget, I went and picked up peanut butter and all the things I could afford off of that $28. And I actually spent like $27 and like 28 cents or something like that. And I kid you not, folks, I went there and I'm just going to grab a random card and I went to go pay for it. And I kid you not, the guy couldn't take the card out of my hand because I was having this moral dilemma of, holy crap, I'm getting ready to give the money that it's taken me so long to get to this point in my life where I'm actually starting to be positive, cash flow is positive. And I'm not going to kid you, I had this moral dilemma. But you know what, I finally let go of the card. You rang it up. And I kid you not, I left that day and initially I felt nauseous. I felt sick to my stomach. But then I had this overwhelming sense of, hey man, it's okay. You did the right thing. And this is this pay it forward concept that I'm talking about. I kid you not, folks, that money that I spent, I literally, just per chance, and I kid you not, I never play the lottery. I never do any of those scratch offs. I never really do that. It's not something I did. Well, a friend of mine, just out of the blue, said, hey, I got a scratch off. Tell you what, because I was, when I was making money and I was, more fluent in my life, and I was one that, hey, if we go somewhere, I pick up the bill. Hey, I was somebody that would help people out. Well, she handed me a lottery ticket and said, hey, whatever you won off there is yours. And I won 50 bucks off that scratch off ticket, folks. I kid you not. I won 50 bucks. And I can't even tell. I knew right then and there because of what I did to pay it forward. And even though it cost me, it was a lot of money for me. 28 bucks at the time was a lot of money. But I just got 50 bucks. And this was probably like a week later, not even a week later, a couple days later. So what I spent in that $27.28 or whatever it was, I think that was accurate. And I don't exactly remember the numbers, but it was $27 and something. it was pretty. It had me back down in my bank account to cents. I won 50 bucks off of a scratch off, and I tried to share that and say, hey, let me share this with you. She wouldn't accept it. I literally went and took that. I cashed it out. I took that money and I put it in my bank account. And I thought, hey, you see what I can do? I took 10% of that, so $5. And I went and bought a couple more. And what do you know? I won $200 more, folks. And all that was possible because I paid it forward. And that $28 that I had just went to about $200+ dollars. I can afford to get a couple more groceries now. I understand it was like to eat spaghetti and macaroni and cheese and next to nothing every day. I understand that. I did that. And I went from eating, traveling around the world, all that, and doing all the things that I did, to struggling. So that's the whole story with all this, folks. And even though I started off in very, very different circumstances than me, I'm proud of it. I'm very proud to say that, I'm a product of an interracial marriage. I'm a product of being in the military. I'm a product of Cleveland. I'm a product of Warrensville Heights. I'm a product of CMR, Great Falls High, or excuse me, not Great Falls High. I didn't go to Great Falls High. I went to CMR. So, my cousins went over there. To having some of these up and down, up and down, up and down. And it all really relates to your mindset, folks. All of it does. Every single last bit of it. I'm a living example of that, folks. Even though I've had all the support in the world. I mean, right now where I'm at my dad's house over here. I haven't seen my dad in years. I need to soak up some family time. And it's weird because I come here and I've never really done things like this. I've never done any type of video. If you watch my channel, I don't do these types of things. I do more marketing based things. And all this came about because I was on Facebook and somebody told me, "Hey Lee, why do you always tell us about this internet marketing stuff?" It's my way of paying it forward to all of you guys. Try and give you free information. Give it to you in a way that is gonna, hey, some of you who may fall down, maybe some of you who may look at internet marketing or may look at marketing online to change your life. That's what this channel is all about. This is what the ShareBeat channel is all about. It's about, providing you information. It's my way of paying it forward. That's ultimately what I want you to overcome. I want you to pay it forward as well. I want you to take what you learn from me, implement it, have some successes with it, and pay it forward to somebody else. Because along this way, folks, on my marketing journey, I found out what my why was. Oddly enough, even though I've gone through all these challenges, I found out what my why was. My why is to educate a macro community that funds a micro community that feeds the community. So folks, hopefully I've given you some actionable steps today. I told you a little bit about me, about Lee Beattie. Who I am, what I stand for, where I've come from. And there's a lot more to it, but I like to really paint the picture so a lot of you understand that, hey, everybody's life is, really, I'm going to quote Jack Canfield here. Everybody's life is, at the beginning, is just, so what? But it gives you an idea of what I went through, what I overcame. All the obstacles. It wasn't easy, folks. It's not easy for anybody to go through those types of things. There just really isn't. I've told you a lot of the things, all the failures I experienced, and I learned how to fail forward. I learned how to take it all in stride. And I'm one that, at the end of the day, I'm not afraid to fail, folks. I'm not. And I encourage you not to be. If there's something that you believe in your life, don't be afraid to experience failure. And that's really a lesson that you need to understand with everything that I've tried to convey, really in a way to help you to overcome all those obstacles. I've really tried to convey it in a way to help you learn how to fail forward. I gave you action steps that will allow you to develop a positive outlook on life. More importantly, everything that you start to experience in a positive or negative. Folks, all these things I'm talking about here, if you're constantly talking about all the negative things that happen, I had learned my lesson, folks. After I was let go, part of reduction in force, that's all I dwelled on. Every day, every day, every day. That's completely the opposite of what I experienced. Even though I went through some challenges prior to that, I still overcame. My mindset was so rock solid that it didn't matter what anybody said to me, anybody did. I was so mentally strong that I just did what I was going to do regardless of what anybody thought or said or did. To me, I was so stuck on having the success. I was able to achieve that. You know, played in Armed Forces Worlds. I was Male Athlete of the Year. I played on some really cool teams. And I got to be a part of a basketball team that all those girls. I admire all of them. You know, because they're all successes in my eyes. We literally took a regular high school team and turned them into a powerhouse team. They weren't all all-stars, folks. You know, they went to a junior Olympic level and didn't fare so well, but they competed with just a regular high school team for the most part. That's the crazy part. And you know, I've learned along the way that for me, I found something as my niche. Before I was an athlete, I loved to play sports. I love playing frisbee golf. It's something I have a passion. Not everybody's going to have a passion for that. For me, I love playing frisbee golf. Anybody who knows me will tell you that. And at any given time, I'll break my disc out and we'll be out there playing. we'll do a makeshift frisbee golf course. I'm known for that, believe me. Even if I don't know where one's at around here, I'll go out there and toss around just because I like it. It's something I enjoy. And that's what I encourage a lot of you to do. So everything I've given you, who is the Beattie? I talked about failing forward. I talked about how to overcome obstacles and how to pay it forward. My way of paying it forward to you is to give you action steps, to give you information with internet marketing that is going to have an effect on your business. That's going to affect you with regard to, hey, maybe that little golden nugget that I provide for you in this channel, maybe it'll help you get past those success blockages that you may have, or that success blockage that you may be having right now. I understand, folks. I've made every mistake in the book when it's come to marketing. I have spent more money than I had. Spent money that I couldn't afford to spend. I made so many mistakes that I'm the golden child. I figured, the cool thing that I figured out about all that, I figured out what doesn't work. So now I don't want to do that anymore. And I want to be able to provide you with some reasonable, some actionable, some scalable, productive steps to help you build. Today I talked about something that was a little bit more personal. And I hope you took something from that. I hope that you learned that, everything, you're not born a millionaire. You're not born. There are people that are born into that and they're lucky. Okay? They're lucky to be born into the circumstances they're in. All these people that have achieved these super successful lifestyles, they've learned how to develop thick skin. They've learned how to push back or push past those potential failures that they may have. They've learned to believe in themselves. And they've established success principles to help them go to the next level. What I've shared with you today are what worked for me. They work, and I've tried these out with a couple case study groups. They work for a lot of people. I can't guarantee you're going to even take action on this, so I encourage you to take action. I encourage you to, push past those limiting beliefs of failure. Push past all those things that have happened. Overcome those obstacles. And more importantly, folks, help those that need help. Whether it be, your church, whether it be, somebody in need, whether if you have a little bit more disposable income and you could help somebody. Whether it be, and this is something that I truly believe in. This is why I'm the actual page manager for 2014 Pay It Forward on Facebook. So go there and like it. Go there right now, like it. Get notification. Get the click like, click notifications. And you know what? Share this with other people. Pay it forward. I'm so proud that all of you who watched this to this point, thank you so much. Because you probably don't know who I am. You don't know what I stand for. You're probably seeing all this marketing stuff I do. You got to really see who I am today. I shared a lot more with you than I do than the average public. I'm so thankful for my life. And I'm going to leave you with this thought. Dr. Wayne Dwyer, I don't know if any of you know who he is. He put out on YouTube, as a matter of fact. I actually listen to it every night before I go to bed. It's called I Am That I Am. And it's a meditation that essentially, I'm going to summarize this. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but just look it up. excuse me, go on YouTube. Look up I Am That I Am by Dr. Wayne Dwyer. And he talks about, you know, this harmonious sound, this sound of, it's a beautiful sound. I love the sound. It's really one of the prettiest sounds I've ever heard. Very angelic. And it's affirming, I am that I am. And I highly recommend that you guys go check that out, because it's really an awesome, something that can help a lot of you, especially if you're into meditating, if you're into wanting to manifest your dream lifestyle. Do it. Go check that out. So my last suggestion is this, folks. A couple things here. You know, do everything I suggested in this video. Okay, next thing, you know, subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Give me a thumbs up. You know, share this with somebody if you think that it could help them. And last but certainly not least, you know, I wish you all love, peace, ease of mind, health, wealth, and happiness. Thank you so much for joining me on this, you know, this hangout today. I did an impromptu. I want to give you some actionable steps. Hopefully you've learned some things. You know, start negating the negative and affirming the positive. Start to really paint the picture of your dream lifestyle and put a price tag to it. Start to supercharge your mornings. I do. And last but certainly not least, please pay it forward. Pay it forward to people, because you know what? You might not get an immediate result. You might not get an immediate thank you. You might not get an immediate pat on the back. You might not get an immediate, you know, monetary reward. But you know what? You will. And last but not least, you know, go check out that I Am That I Am. It's seriously one of the best meditation videos. I mean, I literally put on my phone. I'm gonna show you. Put it on my phone. I put it in my headphones. This is the only reason why. This is the only time I use these, is to listen to Dr. Wayne Dwyer. I Am That I Am. I highly recommend you pick that up, folks. Hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully it's impacted you. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about me. Is why I like to pay it forward with marketing, because you know I have a passion for it, and I want everyone to succeed. My firm belief is that everybody should live an affluent life, because when money's not a stress, money's not something you're worrying about all the time, you can start focusing on the things that you want to do and having an impact in your communities. All right? Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on today's Hangout. You guys have a great day. Have an even better weekend. You guys take it easy. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, don't forget, subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.